An AT&T employee working the night maintenance shift placed a new network element into the production system. The goal: expand network functionality and capacity. Routine work, standard procedure. The network element was misconfigured. At 2:45 a.m., 3 minutes later, the entire AT&T wireless network entered protect mode. 125 million devices disconnected. All voice services stopped. All 5G data services failed. Every AT&T customer in all 50 states, Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands lost service simultaneously. No phone calls, no texts, no data, no 911. It took 2 hours to identify and roll back the configuration error. It took 12 hours to fully restore service. In that time, 92 million phone calls were blocked. Over 25,000 attempts to reach 911 failed. First responders using FirstNet, AT&T's dedicated public safety network, lost connectivity. Some weren't notified for 3 hours. People couldn't call for help. Ambulances couldn't be dispatched. Police couldn't coordinate. Families couldn't reach each other. This wasn't a cyber attack. No storm, no hurricane, no external threat. The FCC called it a sunny day outage. Clear skies, perfect weather, and 125 million phones went silent because of one configuration error at 2:42 in the morning. This is the story of the largest U.S. wireless outage in history. How a routine network expansion became a 12-hour nationwide blackout. How emergency services failed when people needed them most. And how AT&T compensated affected customers with $5 each. February 22nd, 2024. 2:42 a.m. AT&T conducts network maintenance at night. Fewer users, lower traffic, safer window for changes, standard industry practice. The task: install a new network element to expand capacity. Part of ongoing improvements. Nothing unusual. The employee followed procedures. Mostly. The network element was placed into production, but the configuration didn't conform to AT&T's established standards. A single misconfiguration. One error in the setup. At 2:45 a.m., the network recognized the problem and automatically entered protect mode, a safeguard designed to prevent cascading failures across the system. It worked exactly as designed. The network protected itself by disconnecting every device. When AT&T's network detected the misconfigured element, it made a decision: isolate the problem to prevent wider damage. The logic was sound. If one part of the network is faulty, contain it. Don't let it spread. But the misconfiguration was in a core network element. Protecting the network from it meant shutting down voice and data services for everyone. At 2:45 a.m., 125 million devices lost connection. All voice calls stopped. All 5G data services failed. VoLTE, Voice over LTE, the technology that handles modern wireless calls, went offline. Users woke up to phones showing no service or SOS only. SOS mode is supposed to allow emergency calls even without normal service, but AT&T's network was so completely down that even SOS calls to 911 failed. People in all 50 states experienced the outage. Washington, D.C., Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands, everywhere AT&T had coverage. And it wasn't just AT&T customers. Mobile virtual network operators, MVNOs, smaller carriers that lease AT&T's infrastructure, also lost service. So did customers from other carriers who were roaming on AT&T's network. The impact was total. Over the next 12 hours, more than 25,000 attempts to reach 911 failed. 25,000 emergency calls, medical emergencies, car accidents, domestic violence, fires, heart attacks, crimes in progress, no connection. Public safety, answering points, PSAPs, the 911 call centers, never received those calls. Dispatchers had no idea people were trying to reach them. Ambulances weren't sent. Police didn't respond. Fire trucks stayed at the station. The FCC's report is clinical. All voice services on the AT&T mobility network were unavailable during the outage, including calls to 911 made by phones in SOS mode. Translation: even the emergency failsafe didn't work. Phones displayed SOS only. Users thought they could still call 911. They couldn't. How many of those 25,000 calls were life-threatening? How many people needed immediate help and couldn't get it? The FCC report doesn't say. We don't know if anyone died because they couldn't reach 911, but the number of blocked emergency calls is staggering. 25,000 in 12 hours. AT&T operates FirstNet, the First Responder Network Authority. It's a dedicated wireless network for police, firefighters, paramedics, and other emergency personnel. Built specifically for public safety, designed to work even when commercial networks fail. On February 22nd, FirstNet went down with everything else. First responders lost communication, police couldn't coordinate, fire departments couldn't dispatch, EMS couldn't receive calls. AT&T prioritized restoring FirstNet before other services. That's the correct protocol, emergency services first. But here's the problem. AT&T didn't notify FirstNet customers that the network was down until 3 hours after the outage began. Not during the outage, not immediately after discovering the problem, 3 hours later. And by the time AT&T sent the notification, FirstNet service had already been restored for nearly an hour. First responders were operating blind, and AT&T didn't tell them until after it was over. At some point in the early morning hours, the exact timeline isn't public, AT&T engineers identified the misconfigured network element. Rolling back the change took close to 2 hours. By around 5 a.m., the faulty configuration was removed, but the network didn't immediately recover. When 125 million devices disconnect simultaneously and then try to reconnect all at once, the registration systems are overwhelmed. Every phone tries to re-register with the network. Every device requests authentication. Every connection needs to be re-established. AT&T's registration infrastructure couldn't handle the volume. The systems were designed for normal traffic, not for 125 million devices reconnecting simultaneously after a total network failure. It took more than 10 hours to process all the registration requests. Some areas restored faster, others took the full 12 hours. During that time, even though the configuration error was fixed, millions of users still couldn't make calls. The network was technically operational, but the systems couldn't onboard users fast enough. People waited, and waited, and waited. For 12 hours, 125 million Americans lost wireless service. Families couldn't reach each other, parents couldn't call their kids, people traveling for work couldn't contact home, businesses lost connectivity, mobile payments failed, delivery drivers couldn't navigate. Logistics companies lost real-time tracking and reverted to manual coordination. Hospitals that relied on wireless communication for non-critical systems faced delays. Some had to postpone non-emergency procedures. Schools and universities experienced disruptions. Students and faculty who relied on AT&T for calls, texts, and data were cut off. And throughout it all, those 25,000 failed 911 calls. We don't have complete data on outcomes. The FCC's report doesn't detail individual cases. But 25,000 emergency calls didn't go through. That's not a technical statistic. That's 25,000 moments when someone needed help and couldn't get it. How many were false alarms? How many were minor? How many were critical? We don't know, and that's the problem. On March 8th, 2024, 2 weeks after the outage, the FCC opened a formal investigation. On July 23rd, 2024, 5 months later, the FCC released its report. The findings were damning. Configuration error. The network element was misconfigured and did not conform to AT&T's established standards. Lack of testing. AT&T failed to adequately test the configuration in a lab environment before deployment. No peer review. The change was implemented without sufficient peer review. Inadequate safeguards. AT&T lacked proper controls to ensure approval of changes affecting the core network. Registration system. Failure. AT&T did not prepare for the registration congestion that would occur when the network recovered. FirstNet notification delay. AT&T failed to notify FirstNet customers promptly. The FCC concluded, "This sunny day outage highlights the need for network operators to adhere to their internal procedures and industry best practices when implementing network changes." Sunny day is FCC terminology for an outage with no external cause. No storm, no earthquake, no cyber attack, just clear skies and a self-inflicted catastrophe. FCC Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworkel was blunt. When you sign up for wireless service, you expect it will be available when you need it, especially for emergencies. This sunny day outage prevented consumers across the country from communicating, including by blocking 911 calls, and stopped public safety personnel from using FirstNet. The FCC referred the matter to its Enforcement Bureau for potential rule violations. AT&T faced regulatory penalties. But the fine? $950,000 for an outage affecting 125 million devices, blocking 92 million calls, preventing 25,000 emergency calls, less than $1 million. 2 days after the outage, AT&T issued a statement. Based on our initial review, we believe that today's outage was caused by the application and execution of an incorrect process used as we were expanding our network, not a cyber attack. Correct! It wasn't a cyber attack, it was worse. It was a preventable internal failure. AT&T promised improvements, better testing, stronger safeguards, enhanced procedures, and then came the compensation. AT&T offered affected customers account credits. How much? $5. $5. For 12 hours without service, for 92 million blocked calls, for 25,000 failed 911 attempts. $5. The backlash was immediate. Customers were furious. $5 didn't cover the cost of being unreachable for half a day. It didn't compensate for missed business calls, lost deliveries, or the anxiety of not being able to contact loved ones. And for the 25,000 people who tried to call 911 and couldn't, $5. AT&T's gesture felt like an insult. The AT&T outage wasn't the first major telecom failure, and it won't be the last. But it revealed something critical. Our communication infrastructure is fragile. A single misconfiguration, one error by one employee at 2:42 a.m. can silence 125 million people. And when it happens, the consequences are severe. Emergency services fail, first responders lose communication, and people can't call for help. The FCC identified multiple failures: inadequate testing, no peer review, insufficient safeguards, poor registration capacity, delayed notifications. These aren't technical mysteries. They're basic operational procedures that AT&T didn't follow. It's the same pattern we've seen before. CrowdStrike deploying an untested update. Southwest Airlines ignoring warnings about outdated systems. Maui's emergency sirens staying silent. Organizations cut corners. They skip steps. They assume everything will be fine, until it isn't. And when a sunny day outage strikes, there's no one to blame but themselves. February 22nd, 2024, 2:42 a.m. One configuration error, 125 million devices disconnected, 92 million calls blocked, 25,000 emergency calls failed, 12 hours to restore service, and a $5 credit. The AT&T outage is a case study in systemic failure, not because of malicious actors or natural disasters, but because of inadequate processes, insufficient oversight, and a lack of preparedness for recovery. The network protected itself from a misconfigured element. But in doing so, it cut off everyone who depended on it. When the FCC calls an outage a sunny day failure, it's a reminder. Sometimes the worst disasters are self-inflicted. No storm required, just one person, one error, one moment when everything breaks, and 125 million people left in the silence.